Welcome to day 163 of the Let's Grow Annual Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and today we are talking about, of course, relationship growth, because we're talking about relationship growth this entire month, and I'm looking for a decent magnifying glass, which I do not have in front of me today, but we're going to talk about that with respect to effective communication. Communication is critical to every area and aspect of our life, no less relationships than any other. It's the foundation and the cornerstone of our relationships. So how do we have a relationship, number one, with ourselves? Because how we talk to ourselves, how we communicate with ourselves is critical, as well as how we communicate with anyone else that we are in any sort of relationship with, right? Even a stranger that you walk by on the street, do you say hello to them? Do you make eye contact? How do you effectively communicate with them? So different aspects of effective communication. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things that I'll just touch on briefly. And then we have got Ryan's story in Guide 2 of the Let's Grow Annual Challenge private Facebook group page today. And you can find out how effective communication and improving its communication skills impacted his relationships. And our action item today, I'll talk about it in a minute. So what are some areas of effective communication that we want to pay attention to? 1, active listening. Now, this is an area I always need to improve in, especially with my friends and family. I'm better with business and customers and in a professional setting or in a social setting than I am with my family. And I think it's, I blame us all, because we are all talker over one another's, right? We interrupt, we talk over, we finish each other's sentences, and that is not active listening. That is rude, rude and ineffective and annoying at times, but it's one of those continuously improving areas for me personally, and probably for many of us as well. Active listening is waiting to respond. It's actually paying attention, being present, not letting your mind wander, and focusing on what the other person is saying and trying to understand their intent, their emotions, their feelings around the topic that they're talking about, etc. And then replying back in a way that makes sense, right? How often have we been in a conversation where we're not really in the conversation at all? Our mind is off on another tangent or thinking about our stomach growling or something else, and we're not actively paying attention. We're not present in the moment. So active listening, clear and concise expressions. Are we communicating in a way that is clear and concise to the other person that we're communicating with, including ourselves? Or are we using slang or terminology or euphemisms or examples that the other person cannot relate to, etc.? So are we using clear, concise, direct language and expressions in our communication? Nonverbal communication, we could do probably a month-long or year-long training on the importance of nonverbal communication, the different types of nonverbal communication, but things like, are you making eye contact? Are you paying attention? Are you mirroring the person's behavior? Are you paying attention to their body language? And are you watching your own body language? Because we let people know exactly what we're thinking and where we're at with our body language. If our eyes are off and wandering around, we're obviously not present and actively listening and participating in the conversation. So nonverbal communication is again, there's books and books written on it if you want to learn more about it and improve your nonverbal communication. Are we being empathetic and understanding? Are we trying to understand where the other person is coming from, or are we just sticking to our own perspective and our own point of view, and we're not going to listen to them or change our mind no matter what? Now, I will admit it's very hard to change someone else's mind unless they choose to change their mind or be open-minded about something. We've all worked with and had relationships with and been involved with and in conversations with people that are absolutely positively closed-minded. I've got some relatives that think they're absolutely positively right about everything, and it's almost laughable because they're ridiculous in their stubbornness about things and their fixed mentality and their inability to open their minds about anything outside of themselves, or especially anything about themselves. Are you asking and using open-ended questions? If you ask a question that's closed and you know that you ask it in a way that the person has to answer it the way you want to get the answer, or they look like a fool, but really it's you that look like a fool if they have any wisdom at all, why are you doing that? If you want more information, if you want to deepen and have more effective communication, we ask open-ended questions. We don't ask, how was your day? Because they can give a good or bad. Now that's instead of how was your day? Good, bad, don't want to talk about it, whatever, in a short answer and shutting off and shutting down the conversation. If you ask, well, tell me about your day. What was the best part of your day today, etc.? Those are open-ended questions that require a more thoughtful and a more engaged response. And there's, a gazillion examples of that as well. Regular check-ins. Are you in your relationships having regular check-ins? Important relationships to us require that we check in with the other person, or we check in with ourselves. We need to have a great relationship with ourselves. Are you at least weekly or daily checking in with yourself and saying, okay, how are we doing today? What's going on? What's important? What's not important? What happened that we can learn from? What happened that we want to do more of, etc., with respect to communication? So are you checking in with yourself? And are you checking in with other people that are in relationships with you that are important to you? If you're not checking in with your kids regularly, if you're not checking in with your siblings or your friends, certain friends or acquaintances regularly, what happens is people come in and out of our lives for a season and a reason. And some we allow to leave our lives because the reason or the season is over, and others we want to touch base with and on some frequency, and it's different for each relationship, and it's up to you to decide what the right check-in frequency is. But the more important the relationship to you, the more it is in alignment with who you are and your core values, the more often you'll probably check in with the other individual. Avoiding assumptions. Okay, we all make assumptions, right? We all assume, but I love the acronym, assuming makes an ass out of you and me, because it totally does. When we assume we can read someone else's mind, which I don't know anybody yet that can read someone else's mind and know exactly what they're thinking and feeling inside. I don't know anybody that knows another person. Even a lot of us don't even know ourselves very well, much less can we assume we know anything about anyone else. Yet we make assumptions every single day. So we want to check our assumptions and ask ourselves, is that true? Do I know that for sure? Or should I just ask the question to find out if what I'm thinking and believing is true? Or should I just assume it and run with it and then make mistakes? So avoid making assumptions, and then be willing to give and receive constructive feedback, right? If you hurt somebody else's feelings and they say, hey man, that really hurt my feelings when you said this way, that's constructive feedback, because they're telling you the impact that your communication had on them. Not that you did anything wrong, but the impact it had on them. And that is always valid. Other people's feelings are always valid. They might not be justified. Often they are, but they're always valid, and they should never be negated. I am definitely guilty of this. I never want my kids or my grandkids to feel bad or hurt or sad or angry or disappointed or depressed or in pain. And so I tend to minimize their feelings sometimes, or tell them not to feel a certain way. And as soon as it comes out of my mouth, I kind of cringe, because instead of telling them not to feel that way, I need to be validating their feelings and saying, we all experience pain sometimes. We all experience grief. We all experience disappointment. We all experience rejection, and we need to feel it, but we just don't want to stay there. We visit every feeling in the spectrum of feelings. We just don't want to spend a lot of time and energy in the negative feelings and the negative emotions, because that creates more of that energy and attracts more of that nonsense into our lives. All right, so what are we going to do for an action item today? I would like us to, and I'm going to do it myself, I just thought of it, assess ourself, meaning give ourselves a score on a scale of 1 to 10 right now and date it at the top, in each of these 8 areas: active listening, clear and concise communication, nonverbal communication, empathy and understanding, open-ended questions, regular check-ins, avoiding assumptions, and constructive feedback. How good are we at that right now on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being we pretty much stink at it, 10 being awesome. Are we awesome at all these things? Heck no. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it. And then just share maybe your average in the comments below. Average on a scale of 1 to 10. And don't worry about the number. Don't worry about the rating bias. Don't worry about any of it. It's just a way to become aware of our performance in these areas. And we're only judging ourselves, right? And if you give yourself a 10 in everything and you average a 10, I would like you to message me directly because I want to chat with you and find out what your secrets are, because I know that I'm not anywhere near that. All right. Any questions? Hit me up. Guide 2, of course, we've got Ryan's story and a more detailed description and talking about each of these points. It's not super in depth. I did a really brief one today, but it's always there. Or you can always go to the Get Up and Go Challenge private Facebook group page. There are literally 4 years worth of challenges there that you can search effective communication and you'll get all kinds of information on it. All right. Any questions? You can always ask me. Please ask. And if you've really got a question, ask in the comments below so we can all learn from one another. All right. Have an awesome day. And I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.